as well kick it off. Like aerial ability. I'd start.
Oh, you want to go? You want to do this straight away, do you?
Yeah, no. Let's get into it. Let's get into it straight away, and I'd say encourage people to send in their comments as we're going through. I'd say the particular facet that we're talking about. So it's aerial ability now. I suppose something that would like. What's more impressive in aerial ability? A guy that can, claim a ball under a puck out, a la like a wing back or a wing forward, or a guy that claims, a ball at the edge of the square. I would say probably under a puck out. So I'd probably place greater stock on maybe a half back or a half forward. It's going to be, it's not just one-on-one. It's chances are could be 5 or 6 people under a ball or something like that. So I would probably place greater stock on the wing back or the wing forward or centre back or the centre forward in that instance. But on a flip of that, Conor McDonald would definitely be high up in the conversation. As regards a ball coming in around the edge of the square, geez, outside of Gillane, there are few better than him at the edge of the square.
Okay, so let's do a bit of a we'll try to make it a short list, but it might end up being a long list. Right, from Kilkenny, who's good in the air? I'd say Owen Cody, TJ Reid. Feel free to just jump in with names there. They'd be the two that really jump out at me. I think Adrian Mullen's good in the air as well, but maybe the other two are slightly ahead. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair enough. I'd say from a Waterford point of view, I definitely have Jack Fagan high up there. Whether he's wing back or wing forward. Do they have anybody else under a high ball? Yeah, it wouldn't be bad, but probably isn't connecting a high ball in amongst a load of bodies maybe as much, if you get me.
I think we can put Ozzy in there because even though he's not playing county, he's still county standard and still hurling. So I'd be happy to put him in there for sure. Yeah,
we can definitely land him in there. I'd say that's probably about Waterford's lot. I'm kind of thinking from a Tipperary point of view. I always thought Ronan Matter was quite adept in the air. There's probably plenty of categories that he could probably flick into. Are there many other tip guys under the
high ball?
Bonner back in his day.
But he's more of a flick it down in front of himself type merchant. I don't know if there's that many, especially currently. No, probably not. Probably not that many. And even like Ronan is very, very good in the air. But I think when it comes down to it, we'll probably talk about Gillane probably doing well on him in the air once or twice. So that would probably mean he's not, when we get down to the real short list, he might be a small bit under pressure there. Who in Limerick? I'd say Diarmaid Byrnes. Would Diarmaid Byrnes be number one?
Byrnes would be high up there. There's a bit of jiggery pokery needed here because I think Byrnes, Gillane and TJ Reid could probably go across a couple of categories. And I think you have to pick them at what the very best, what is the very best kind of part of their game.
Yeah, because Byrnes, you could easily put him down as the free taker.
And you could easily have TJ as the free taker as well.
Lee Chin, serious under high boss as Éanna McMahon. Very good point.
Very good. I have him eyed up now for somewhere else now, I have to say. I have him eyed up for strength.
Okay.
Because is there a stronger intercounty player than Lee Chin? I'm not sure if there is. Just a couple of other ones.
On for that and find out who is the strength of two horses.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple of other lads just from Cork. Kieran Joyce is fairly decent in the air. Shamie Harnedy be fairly decent at the other end of the pitch. Whether they're up to the level, I don't think they're up to the level of let's say Gillane, a Reid, a Byrnes. Kyle Hayes is fairly strong in the air too. Yeah. Rowan Hegarty's good in the air. Tom Morrissey is no slouch in the air either.
I wanted to nearly nail me colours to the mast here straight away and saying endurance there in the bottom right. I'd be putting, I was about to say Tom Morrissey, but actually they keep taking him off after about 55 minutes.
Yeah, we can easily jump around here. I know in my head for endurance there was a couple of players that definitely came to mind. Morrissey was one. Paddy Deegan was another. He's literally an energizer bunny that just stays going and going and going. And the club final the other day was probably a good example. I think Dan McCormack's another very good example.
Alan Tynan?
Yeah, Alan Tynan absolutely emptied the tank. I think Liam McGovern's another fella. Like if you're clocking the sort of mileage that these boys have gone through, it'd be absolutely huge. I fell on one particular fella for endurance though, and I suppose the abiding memory is that All-Ireland final against Cork, where he made about a 70-yard dash to get a hook in about the 75th minute. I'd be having Will O'Donoghue in around very high up in the endurance conversation.
Crackety Ash says Morrissey comes off by design though.
He comes off because he's emptied the tank probably, and he's probably clocked more miles within the 60 minutes than a lot of lads maybe would in the hour. And it probably is a bit by design as well, yeah.
Is there anyone in the Galway setup that would be in this conversation?
Aerial ability or endurance?
Endurance. Well, I suppose we're hopping around, but yeah.
Endurance, not as much. There's nobody jumping off the page.
Colin has gears, but I don't know if it's what we're talking about with in that sense. We've got Fintan Burke for strength there as well. Yeah, he's a strong man for sure. Do you know who I also wanted to mention? Keelan Malloy is some man to stay going.
Yeah, he's a fair operator. He's usually going as strong in the last minute as he is in the first minute. Just a comment in there by Robert Muldoon says Burke badly caught by Gillane playing hard from behind this year. Yeah, so like I think if you're going for that aerial ability, like you're literally talking about someone who's nearly impregnable in the air. Like, do you know what I mean? I think you described TJ Reid as a Venus flytrap before. Like at the end of the day, right? I'll put it to you this way, and Gillane is the inside forward, so that's why if he was out wing forward, would he be as good in the air?
I'd say he could be, but we just don't see it, and maybe we do see it occasionally for the club actually, but we've seen it more often from TJ in different areas of the field. Are you willing to, like, so if we look at all the disciplines here, and I know people watching on the phone, it might be a little bit more difficult, but aerial ability, wrist, strike from place, speed, brain strength, place balls, leadership, endurance. I just think he's so good in the air. It would feel strange not to have him as the guy for aerial ability.
Gillane or TJ?
TJ.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy with that. The question I was going to pose to you, Shane, was if you had a puck out and you're putting it down, who would you want under it? Under the puck out now, when the ball has to be won. And on the flip of that, who's a very, very close, I would say, is like if you were defending a puck out, who would you want under the puck out? Burns probably on the other end, realistically. Yeah. But I think it's like it's still there's so many good parts to TJ's game, but to me that's the best.
Yeah, and you know, I'd love to see a few puck outs between Burns and TJ Reid. Do you remember the All-Ireland final, not this past year, but the year before, Barry Nash was put on him to spoil him, and Aaron Gillane told us a few weeks ago about, you know, how it was almost impossible to catch the ball over Barry Nash. So it's kind of interesting as well. We haven't put Barry Nash in the shortlist here, but I don't know, does he dominate in the air? But maybe he's just unbelievably good at spoiling lads who are good in the air, which is maybe slightly different discipline. Okay, did we mention Liam Rush as just somebody that's worth noting in that area?
Brilliant ball winner, and obviously was a ball winner as a centre back and a ball winner as a full forward. They're two very different things.
Is there anyone in Clare that we're wrong in here?
I will always say the best probably player they have in the air is probably Aaron Channer, I'd say. Again, he's coming in towards the end of a game usually, and it's a one-on-one type of a ball. I would place more stock on someone who can win a ball in the half back line or the half forward line, because that's the most amount of high balls in a game. That's where they're landing, and there's more bodies and there's probably more pressure, and there could be lads coming from everywhere. Whereas if you're on the edge of the square, chances are it's just one-on-one, and that's not dumbing down how good it is, how unbelievable it is to catch a ball on the edge of the square. I just think it's probably even more difficult in the half forward line.
Okay, so Joe Butler says it's easier to win a puck out as a defender than a forward. It has to be TJ. Shane O'Donnell has a paw too, says Robert Muldoon. He does indeed. That's a very good shout. Owen Hurley says Dara Fitzgibbon for speed or endurance. That's a good shout straight away. Peter Duggan likes a high ball, says Crackety Ash.
More of a touchdown as well, though. Apart from the All-Ireland semi-final this year, he'd usually be putting up the hurl to take it down to himself.
Yeah, which in itself is a great thing, but I suppose we've got the image of a paw there. So
the touchdown is great, but you want the catch. You want the clean catch, because how demoralizing is a clean catch for the opposition team? It really, really is, because you have your hands on the ball. Okay, so what area do you want to go with next? Do you want to go with speed? Yeah, let's go with speed. I've a couple of suggestions anyway before we start.
Jack O'Connor.
Definitely Dsy Hutchinson will be right up there.
I'd say Jack O'Connor is faster of Cork.
He might be, but I suppose the end product from the speed needs to come into it then. Okay. Actually, you know what?
I can't ignore this comment. Aidan O'Loughlin, Ryan Taylor for endurance. Also remember Munster final extra time, him running the length of the pitch. Okay, he's in the shortlist straight away for that, but sorry, finish your point.
I'd have him in the conversation for speed as well. It's a different type of speed. It's out the field speed. If he gets the ball, he usually goes away from people. maybe it's a speed endurance, but he usually goes away from lads over 15 or 20 meters. There's different types of speed here as well. There's the speed of an inside forward or an inside back, and which we're probably only going maybe 15 or 20 meters at electric pace. And then there's the speed of a halfback or a midfielder, which is more probably 30 to 50 meters, making I'd say acceleration maybe more inside, and then speed maybe from between 5 and 12.
Okay, so Desi, I'd still be happy to have Jack O'Connor in this conversation, just because it's ridiculous levels of speed. It almost looks like he's on skates when he's turning and arcing at a defence. Cathal Mannion, I think, is very, very fast. Who would we have from other counties? Anyone kind of sticking out from... Donald Burke is deceptively fast. He is very fast. I'm not saying he's like same level of speed as the other guys. Is there anyone from Wexford or,
Yeah, I have a couple of guys here. Like I was talking about, like the speed is in when you get to open up your legs. Like Kyle Hayes' goal against Tipperary. Like that is he opened up and nobody could get near him. Like that when that was, what was that?
But you have to look at the lads that were chasing him for that. They weren't the fastest Tipperary players. Now, I think he's got great drive and run and power. Very hard to stop. Plus, he's able to stay going for forever, it seems. But I don't know if his top speed is, and I could be wrong, but I don't know, is his top speed like Darragh Fitzgibbon type speed?
Yeah, I'd love to get, like even if it was off the record, the boys that are actually putting this together for the county squads, like who is actually the fastest over, because they do it at the start of the year. They probably do it between the league and championship as well, like actual times. There's no
speed gates. They all have, like, they certainly have access to speed gates and stuff like that, whether they use them. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
I'd have Owen Cody high up in the conversation as well now. Very quick as both a half forward, as an inside forward. Like, I'm not sure whether this guy falls into speed or endurance. Probably speed, I would say. Like, Caleb Lyons has some pace. Like, if he gets the ball in hand, he'll just burn you. You will not get closer to him. The key is, I suppose, not to let him get ball in hand. I would have Ryan Taylor high up in the conversation. I'd have Shane O'Donnell high up in the conversation. Ian Galvin is another guy. So slippery and so fast inside. Darragh Fitzgibbon I mentioned. But I think my number one is Shane Kingston.
He is mentioned here, all right, actually. Who has mentioned him here? Crackety Ash. Kingston is the fastest in Cork, apparently.
I'd well believe it. Like, how many guys does he burn? And particularly when he comes in. Saying that, a lot of the time we're looking at it's when he comes into a game, maybe when there are tired legs. But he's like, he put the fear of God in you now. If he gets a ball and you're like staring him in the eyes. A lot of lads I actually just watched back clips of the league final yesterday from 2022. And there was a stage in the second half where Kingston came on. He was running riot. And he got a ball, and Conor Gleeson was just like, oh, you can have it. You can have all that space out there. No problem. Just do not come at me. And he let him tip the ball over the bar, and it's probably the sensible option. But he'd be high up there now. Okay,
so let's go with the short list then. Jack O'Connor, Desi Hutchinson. Cathal O'Neill is mad fast, as Crackety Ash says, but I'd actually be looking at him in terms of the endurance, because I'd say he's the sort of lad. He must be putting up 12 and 13K in matches. Who else did you want in that short list? Like Jake Morris is mentioned here as well. And this isn't me just trying to cram in a Tipperary representative. He is lightning fast.
I'm sure you'll do your best. Jake is very fast as well. I'd probably have top three. I'd probably be looking at Desi Hutchinson, Shane Kingston. And it depends what conversation you're putting Caleb Lyons into, I think, whether it's speed or endurance.
I'd want Darragh Fitzgibbon in here.
Depends again what conversation you're having, whether it's speed or endurance, or is it both?
Yeah, because then if you're talking about Darragh Fitzgibbon, you can probably bring Kyle Hayes into that same conversation.
Okay, let's make the speed like actual pace, whereas endurance is more to do with not speed endurance, but more to do with what lad is still going at the 75th minute. I think that's what we need to separate and jump all those lads into speed then as well.
Okay, real ridiculous speed. But like, then who utilizes it best? And that's where you probably like. But do you know what the thing with Desi? And look, we are huge fans of Desi. It's just not that often he solos through and scores a goal, is it? Like, whereas, again, I'm plumbing for tip here, but how often does Jake Morris solo through and bury the ball into the back of the net? So he uses his speed more.
Yeah, a lot of the ball coming into, I have to say, Desi as well is very sympathetic to him, and he maybe actually they're not utilising his speed enough maybe at times, or maybe they're trying to make sure with Ballygunner that he's not a one-trick pony, and he definitely isn't with them.
No, he scored a goal the other day, of course, as well. But like,
yeah,
he's the sort of guy you'd be thinking should be scoring a goal every second game at inter-county level and having multiple chances. But I think he often turns and fires it over the bar before even thinking about it, or sets up somebody else. Like, he's a very selfless player. I just think that if we're going to really kind of split the hairs in this, because there's so many good players, including him, we need to see, okay, who's really fast, but they've got end product with it. And that's where I'd say, if you were to pick between him and Jake Morris, I would take Jake Morris.
Yeah, I'd probably take Shane Kingston over the two in a way, because I just think, how many times does he actually burn lads? I think a hell of a lot. Even burning lads by going on the outside to create space that maybe isn't even there when he gets the ball. It would be Kingston for me now. Like, I'm just thinking, who would I hate to be on? Not only is he just fast as well, he's physical too, and probably a bit more physical than some of the players we've been talking about there. So it'd be Kingston for me anyway.
Okay, do you know what? I'm happy to put him in there for now. If I take a fit a little bit later on, maybe I'll change. Crackety Ash says, fair point. 𝘧𝘳𝘢𝘭𝘪𝘧𝘺 acceleration turns fast, but really puts the head down and takes on the defence. But again, look, let's not take away from him. He's an absolutely brilliant player. And I'd say at any stage over the course of his career, if he decides to start doing that a little bit more, he can probably become a goal machine. He's still only 27, actually. He only
and we're
27.
talking about a guy who has professional sporting speed. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like that's proven. And he's coming back into an amateur game, obviously, and he does look so much faster than the vast majority of players he comes up against. Just are we doing any defenders a disservice here? Like, it's all grand saying about the forward that skates away and gets the ball and is real fast. Like, who are the defenders that basically don't, where you're thinking, put the fastest player on him and there won't be a bother on him. They will not get away from him. Like, I don't know how fast Sean Finn is, but it's very, very rare lads get away from him. I'll put it to you that way.
Is that a combination of him being quite fast, but also a really organised defence around him and ball not coming in quick? Because he has scored 5 points against him from play. And look, again, we're not doing a disservice to him. We think he's brilliant. He won 4 All-Stars in a row for a very good reason. So we rate him massively, but we're trying to split hairs here.
I'd have Hugh Lawler high up there in the conversation as well, as regards athleticism too. I'd probably a small bit different. If there was an athleticism category, I think he'd be very high up. Is he the fastest? Maybe not. But how many?
Sean O'Donoghue.
Sean O'Donoghue was very fast. If it was for biggest biceps anyway, he'd absolutely walk at him. Well, it'd be him and Chin, I'd say. But Lawler's able to spoil so many good forwards by how fast he's able to spoil probably Galan. It's probably the combination of things. He's able to spoil Conor Whelan as well to some extent too. It's probably speed. It's probably athleticism. It's probably aerial ability as well, and his ability to actually want to burst out in front too.
Yeah, actually, it's often cornerbacks who are the speed merchants. So is there anyone from Clare that you put in this conversation? Anyone from Tip?
Adam Hogan wouldn't be slow, obviously. Definitely
Barrett.
not. Kyle Barrett. Yeah, I would say it's more to do with anticipation with Barrett than him being absolutely electric, and he anticipates as good as anybody.
And I'm just wondering then, anyone would maybe, like Dublin have always had extra. Look, Owen O'Donnell's a bullet.
Yeah, Owen O'Donnell is quick, and you obviously had him at club level and know that probably better than anybody. Yeah, just let me think any other Dublin guys.
To be fair, like we played Owen O'Donnell in the forwards, and he finished up as top scorer in the Senior A Championship in Dublin this year. Like, that'll just tell you. There was times we played a few challenge matches, and we were watching back clips, before a match or whatever. There was a couple of times he took off through the centre of a defence in a challenge match, and everyone in the room just started laughing because of how ridiculous the speed was. So I think, like, in terms of like power and pace, he'd probably be up there with a lot of them. Now, I'm not going to push too hard because it'll say, yeah, you're this is like you picking a Tipperary lad type thing.
Yeah. he definitely would be up there, and like, obviously his speed and athleticism was that good that he was called into the Dublin football squad, and they thought that he'd be able to do a similar job maybe. I don't know about this. Crackety Ash says Galan lost Lawler several times in the final. A bit of an overused narrative that he did a good job on him. I remember him losing them once. I don't remember him losing them a lot of times. And you have to remember as well, that's one-on-one a lot of the time. There's no cover or anything like that. And I would say Lawler. No, I definitely would say Lawler got the better of that duel in the final, and I would have said he got the better of the duel in the previous year's final as well.
You are actually the president of the 𝘬𝘓 fan club, though.
Not far off it, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do the best risks. And look, we can revisit these as we go along. So if you've got a compelling argument, please put it in, and we'll try and see if that changes our minds. Yeah, risks.
Risks. Well, like the
I just
first
type in
person.
Noel McGrath.
Noel McGrath is definitely high up there.
I just put his name in here.
I think he'd be very high up in the brain category as well, though, as regards hurling brain. The first person that came to my mind was Patrick Horgan, anyway, as regards risk, because I've seen it firsthand. And I remember saying it to you. We played him in, I think it was 2009 in the qualifier in Tullamore. And I remember he got the ball, and it's just like, there's no way you can strike the ball here. Like, I'm on top of you. It's impossible for you to get a strike away. And it was just this, it's hard to, just this little lean back. It was like, all right, the ball's gone over the bar. And like, you can strike the ball in that small of a space. Where it's something that such few lads can actually do it, and do it so well. He does it best.
Who can do things like that? So you've got Horgan, you've got Noel McGrath. Look, for once, I am going to go and push a few tip lads here. I'm going to say Jason Ford.
Definitely.
Say, even though he's no longer playing county, he is still playing club. Bubbles.
Oh yeah, definitely high up there. Yeah, the wrist/hands category. But like Bubbles, we there. Like, as regards, if you're doing, and we will do it in time, the best, overall hands or hand or whatever we've seen, we'll go through that. Bubbles will definitely be high up in that category. John Donnelly's another one as well, Shane. As regards, I think he's beautiful hands and real, very, very quick, fast wrists as well. Peter Casey, I'd have high up in the conversation too. Gets a strike away quite quickly usually too. Remember the way he sold one of the Cork boys for a pup in the All-Ireland final that he ended up coming off in. Like, my shortlist was Patrick Horgan, Noel McGrath, Peter Casey, John Donnelly. I think Tony Kelly's got great wrists as well, and someone amazingly, one of the best hurlers in the country that we haven't really talked about yet. And Jason Ford would be the other that I'd have in the conversation.
Yeah. So of any of them, is there anyone who's particularly good on both sides, or is there anyone we can rule out because they're, they definitely favour one side more so than the other?
Usually the lads with good wrists are good on both sides, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, but there's some where you're like, he can do it from any angle on both sides, and some lads are like, well, he can do it on his right side if he's running towards goal and he's not particularly under pressure. Like, I'd say Horgan can do it any which way, facing any direction, with his body contorted any which way at all. I'd say Noel McGrath can. I'd say, yeah.
Jason Ford can too, I think.
Yeah, he probably can. Cian Lynch has tidy wrists too, says Porrick. Ryan, that's more kind of wizardry. I would have thought.
Yeah, I would definitely have. It literally would be Horgan. Probably be Horgan, Ford, McGrath, something like that.
Well, do you know what though? We have a section that's striking from play, so maybe wrists is slightly different, where it's like unbelievable touch and manipulation of the ball, and it's not just about striking. So I think strike from play is where we put in Horgan, Ford, Noel McGrath, whoever, and then wrists maybe slightly different.
Oh, I don't know. How many scores does Patrick Horgan get using his wrists?
Well, it's a bit of both, I suppose. Yeah, so like theoretically, we could have him in for wrists, and we could have Noel McGrath in for ball striking, which I actually think might be fair enough.
Yeah, I have different ideas for ball striking now, I have to say, but I do think it's a different type of a thing. I'd have Noel McGrath higher up in the brain category, because I think his hurling brain is unbelievable, and the hurling, like his hurling, like the thing about Noel McGrath is here when you're talking, and it's such a compliment for him. It's like, and even for Huggy as well. You've Noel McGrath up unbelievably high in the wrists department, unbelievably high in the striking from play department, unbelievably high in the hurling brain department. Like, that's, like if you're up near the top in those three, like, obviously just shows why his career has been so good. Like the brain as well, just let me chat about that quickly for a second. Like the reverse hand pass in 10, for Larry, like that's someone with a hurling brain on a different level than most mere mortals.
Yeah, so I've thrown Patrick Horgan in there for the wrists. But you'll notice of the three that we've picked so far, TJ Reid, Patrick Horgan, Shane Kingston, we haven't moved outside the old tree. We mightn't call them the traditional tree or the big tree, but the old tree, maybe we'll say at this stage.
Yeah, no, we haven't. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Ashley says there, if you want to see wristy strikes from play, look at Cottle O'Neill's score. The lads you're mentioning aren't scoring those from play these days. I beg to differ on Patrick Horgan, definitely.
Yeah, Cathal O'Neill actually. Remember Aaron Gillane a few weeks ago said he's as skillful as Cian Lynch, or he's certainly in the same conversation, which is interesting. The more he gets to play for Limerick, the more he may force himself into these sort of categories. So you want to put Noel McGrath in for Brain?
There's plenty of lads I have in that. Actually, do you know what? When I'm going down through the list of it now, I had TJ Reid in for Brain as well. We've already used him, so he's out of the conversation. I'd have Declan Hannon high in the conversation. Noel McGrath, definitely. I think Darragh O'Donovan is very smart. He's the kingmaker a lot of the time, really, isn't he? He's the one that puts the ball on the plate for other lads to probably soar. Cian Lynch, amazing hurling brain. Tony Kelly, the same. Shane O'Donnell, too. And I had Diarmuid O'Keefe in the conversation as well, just because I think his positioning is outstanding. He's always in the right place and nearly always gives the right pass. It's funny, like TJ Reid is near the end of his career. Patrick Horgan is near the end of his career. Like Noel McGrath is near the end of his career. But like some of the reasons why these guys are really high up in the conversations is because we've seen so much of them. You know, maybe in 3 or 4 years, Cathal O'Neill will be, top of one of these categories. But we haven't seen, maybe some of the Limerick viewers have seen him at first hand for the last 7 or 8 years, and they know exactly how good he is. We've seen bits and pieces, but we probably haven't seen as much as in other players, particularly those lads in their mid to late 30s.
We knew after a season or two that Noel McGrath was a very smart hurler, though. We probably didn't need to see 14 or whatever seasons it is of him. David Burke's brain, yeah, that's true. He's a very clever player. Let's see. I would say, God, who else was I going to mention there? Can't think now off the top of my head. But yeah, I agree. Darragh O'Donovan, very clever hurler. I would have said Richie Hogan was a very clever hurler as well. I do feel like there's somebody I'm missing here as well. Retro Wrist, John Troy and DJ high up the list. John Murphy says Conal Cunning is very risky. Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. We didn't mention him, and maybe we should have. Is there anyone else then smart? And Neil McManus is a very clever player also. By the way, in wrist, Donald Burke I think should have been mentioned. I'm not sure he would have won it, but definitely worth mentioning. Is there anyone really, really high in that list with Galway? Like, where's Evan Nyland? Well, we might be coming to free taken when we come and chat about him. Anyone else really clever with like Clare, Tip, Limerick, Cork, Waterford?
I would have said O'Donnell.
Barron.
Yeah, Barron. Yeah, Barron probably is the sort of player that would come into a conversation for speed, endurance, brain, maybe as well. Like what you want is, and that's why there are certain names that crop up in 4 or 5 categories here, and like that's just how good they are. And I would be thinking of like probably TJ Reid, Dermot Burns,
Cian Lynch,
Noel McGrath, Cian Lynch. Like it would be a disgrace if Cian Lynch wasn't on this list.
Okay, well, what areas could he be in? I think he could be in leadership. I'd say he's very strong. I don't think he's going to fit in that category here. I think he's quite risky, but not in the ball strike. I mean, he obviously can. Sure, he had a broken hurley scoring that point while he was genuflecting against Cork. But I don't know if he's what we're talking about in here. Yeah, he has to fit in here somewhere, doesn't he?
I'd have him ahead of Noel McGrath in the hurling brain department.
Okay. So you're anti-tip bias again.
So and I picked up for about 10 minutes how good Noel McGrath is. But I just think like how many passes, how well does he link the play? And he always does what is the right thing for the team and not himself. Like he could score probably 5 or 6 points in every game if he wanted to, but he rarely does because I'd say he always uses his brain. And like always uses his brain to give the ball to the person in the best position. Now saying that, some of the passes that Noel McGrath can spray around are.
I'll give you a perfect example. Do you remember that goal he set up for Seamus Callan against Laois in 2019? Was that quarterfinal, I think? Yeah. Like, it was a 40-yard stick pass over the top straight into Callan's paw, and he finished it nicely. Like going centre forward on Brick Walsh in the 2010 All-Ireland semi-final and cleverly peeling off to pick up, was it 4 or 5 points from play that day? Think of some of the goals that he set up for Tip over the years. Like, was it 32 possessions in the All-Ireland final in 2019? No, I'd be pushing for Noel here. I think Cian Lynch is unbelievable in so many ways, but I'd give Noel this one.
Here's one for you. Is your smartest hurler, we said this before, but I think your smartest hurler 1 and 2 are centre back and centre forward. they should be nearly your smartest player. You're talking about Noel McGrath there. Like, it's literally like how smart, how good of a hurling brain they have to be able to drift off, find pockets, even on like tight pitches, and able to find pockets. Remember him playing against Galway in the COVID quarter final, and he looked like his legs looked like his legs looked like he were shot. And I think he hit 4 points from playing, maybe missed another 3 or 4. But it's just, you're that smart to get yourself into those positions. And even at times this year, now I do think he's been probably hurt by the schedule in a way, because, you know, potentially you'd say maybe he's not as athletic maybe as some other kind of modern players. But as regards brain, he's easily one of the sharpest. Do you know what? I'm happy enough to go for Noel McGrath for brain. I think you're splitting hairs between him and Cian Lynch. It's either or really. I'm happy with either.
Yeah, Robert Muldoon says brain is the most prominent aspect of McGrath's game, whereas it's not necessarily Lynch's. Well, I think like ball striking and touch and stuff like that would be up there with for McGrath as well. But look, I think we'll put him top. We'll keep him there. Yeah. You want to read that comment, did you?
Yeah, no, just Crackly Ash just said Screeney did a sweet crossfield pass into the hand of that Freshers game the other night. I actually saw that. Yeah, he can obviously score, but he's as good to set up as he is to score, and he knows when the shot isn't on. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting to follow him over the next couple of years. He's in with the seniors actually, straight in. So I don't know if I like that, and I'm not sure. Like, do you throw him straight in and play games? I don't know. I think he needs time to develop.
Yeah, well, like if you look at Tipperary, they have Darragh McCarthy and Paddy McCormick training with the seniors straight away. Like, and you know that was the case. Maybe it's still the case. You know, these things can, you know, they're quite fluid. So I don't know if it's changed in the last couple of weeks. But like sometimes it might be a case of, we'll get this lad in now, so he understands what it's about. He gets used to the physicality. Obviously, in county training, you'd expect, for the most part, no one's going to look to absolutely clean him out physically. So surely that's happening across the board, where younger lads are brought in ahead of time just to get used to what it's all about.
Yeah, no, it does happen. But the thing is that usually that's within, he's coming into like a strong panel or whatever, like coming into Limerick or whatever. Cotton O'Neill comes in, very limited game time. Same with Adam English, and they're going to have limited game time because look at the caliber, what's ahead of them. Whereas with Screeney, you're thinking, like, yeah, you want to bring him in and get him blooded, but like if you're bringing him into the panel, he probably has to start most games, doesn't he?
Well, based on what you look, he's going to be one of your best players. But based on what you saw in the Leinster Club Championship, do you think that, you know, he's ready physically for it? Like, I understand what you're saying, like bringing him in now, getting him up to speed, but I don't know necessarily if he is ready to start.
Oh no, I wouldn't say he is, and I think it's a better thing for him long term if he doesn't. I'd be giving him a few minutes here and there, but
why would they be compelled to start him? Do you think like the public pressure would be to start him now that you brought him in?
No, he just could be ripping it up in training. That's all. Like, there's not saying that he'll get a fair education, Mark and Ben Keneally and the likes, which would be great for him in training. To be fair, a guy who's about 6'3" probably has about, he could have 20 or 30 kgs on him, and is big, kind of mobile defender. So it will be a good education for him. But I think when push comes to shove, come Joe McDonagh time, I think that he's probably going to play himself into the team.
Yeah, like fast weather, quick ball. Marking him, no thanks. John Murphy says John Conlon has to nail one of the categories, either strength or even for brain. The man has an all-star in the forwards and the backs. That's a very good point. Does that bring us to strength?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you fire away. Who do you think is? Conlon's obviously high up there. The few Clare lads high up there. I'd have Cathal Malone, Peter Duggan, well in that conversation as well.
Okay, let's go through some of the Galway players. Would Joseph Cooney, for example, like he's a big, pig, ignorant joke in a good way. You've got Daithí Burke, who seems like he's very physically strong. Anyone else in there with Galway? Johnny Glynn, I suppose, potentially could still be playing county, could make a return.
Conor Whelan is as strong as a bull. Look at, like, he's strong everywhere. Strong in the legs, strong in the upper body. Like, how many times does he throw lads away as well? Like, to me, he'd be high up there. Someone mentioned Fintan Burke as well. Not necessarily a guaranteed starter, but how strong is he? He wrestled with Hegarty in the All-Ireland semi-final the year before last. He'd be high up there. Daithí Burke, very, very strong as well. Like, remember, there's a couple of Daithí Burke hits. One against Cork in that quarter final in Thurles in 2022. I remember him taking the head off Luke Scanlon in Salt Hill. I think it was in 2018. Big, physical, robust player. He's the sort of player where if you're looking at him on the edge of the square in particular, and you're thinking, yeah, might make good sense to actually go in here. And we might try and play around him maybe. But as regards strength, I'd probably have 𝘧𝘢𝘀𝘀 Burke, Conor Whelan, Fintan Burke, probably with Galway's 3 highest, I'd say.
Road McInerney's probably not a weak man either.
No, they have a lot of big men. To be fair, they're well fed, I'm sure, with the spuds and the like.
Yeah. Okay. So then with Wexford, you're probably looking at 𝘠𝘠 as the #1 candidate there.
Liam Ryan wouldn't be a million miles behind either.
And I'd say Conor McDonald is a strong enough man too. I'd say Jack O'Connor of Wexford is also pretty strong. Who in Dublin are you looking at?
If Chris Crummey was on the squad, he wasn't involved this year, he'd definitely be high up there too. Rush is definitely pretty strong too. Paul Crummey would be pretty high up there for strength as well. He gets the ball, he just goes like that, and he should.
Again.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, like they're all very strong players. Kyle Hayes is a seriously strong player. Dermot Burns, Gerard Hegarty, Seamus Flanagan, Adrian Mullen. Like, look at there's a Mullen put in some huge hits. To me, like, strength is one of it. Like, he's a lot of good assets, and that's again how good of a player he is that you're talking about across 3 or 4 categories here. But I'd have strength up one of the highest.
Now, you like to take a pop at Cork any chance you can get. Are you going to put any Cork lad in this conversation?
What Cork lad deserves to be in the conversation?
Look, you're mad to have a pop at them.
What fella deserves to be in the conversation?
Don't turn it back on me. Just say it. You don't want any Cork lads in here.
Declan Dalton's probably their strongest player, I would say.
But is he physically imposing?
It's imposing enough now, but I thought it was very telling. And when one of their own says it, it's probably even more telling when Sean Og basically said that they don't have that half-forward line.
Yeah.
They don't have the Timmy McCarthy, Niall McCarthy, even Ben O'Connor when he played out there. They don't really have those types of players at the minute. I'm sure they're trying to find them, and someone like Brian Roach or that would be, to me, he's my type of a player. I think he's a player that Cork need maybe 2 or 3 of him, to be honest. But would there be anyone jumping off the page? Not really. But like you're looking at in the speed category, there's a couple of players jumping off the page. Different counties, kind of, not that they build different players.
You're saying they run away from contact. That's what you're saying. They're so fast because they're running away from contact.
That's your words, not mine. But
Sean O'Donoghue, I'd say he's physically very, very strong guy. I'd say Robert Downey wouldn't want to be trifled with either.
Yeah, you're big on the 2 Downies. I wouldn't have them in, as regards elite inter-county strength to be high, like pretty medium term on the list, but there'd be a lot of lads to be a hell of a lot ahead of him. Like, to me, like, and he does it, and he probably comes into the I don't know what category, I wanted to call it the cojones category, but 𝘠𝘠 would be unbelievably high in that, but unbelievably high in the strength category. Like, I don't know if there's a stronger inter-county hurler out there realistically, and I know it's like you can see the strength, that like maybe that's a bit different than old school strength, but like, he's strong as a bull, and you wouldn't want anyone in a wrestling match in a hurling, like, on the field more than him probably.
So you're talking about curls for the girls in the gym versus throwing the tires up on the slurry pit type straw.
Mirror muscles, we were always told they were.
Fionn Mackesy Kerry, yeah, he is very well.
He would definitely come into the striking category as well, without a doubt.
So, do you like 𝘠𝘠, Kyle Hayes?
𝘠𝘠, Kyle Hayes, like Will O'Donoghue is not exactly. No. You couldn't say he's not strong. Conor Whelan, yeah, no, I'd have 𝘠𝘠 highest of the list for me anyway.
I'd say Kyle Hayes is probably the strongest. Like, he's 6'6". He's a monster. Like, he's equally comparably filled out to 𝘠𝘠, which means that because he's probably 6 inches taller, or at least 5 inches taller, he's probably that, proportionately bigger as well. And like, when have you ever seen him take a backward step from anybody?
Never.
It's Kyle Hayes for me.
I have no issue with that.
Okay. Do our viewers get your comment in and let us know? Like, it's a tough old category. It sure is. What one do you want to go for next?
We go for strike from play.
Okay, right. Back to the traditional counties.
It's funny, like, because there's some names probably popped out to me here that aren't maybe the most obvious ones, but like I think Richie Reid is a beautiful striker of the ball. Particularly on that left side, I think he's really good striker. I'd have David Fitzgerald from Clare, I think, is a lovely striker as well. And do you know what he is as well? He's a striker, a beautiful striker on the run, about 100 yards, particularly on that left-hand side.
Okay, I think we have to straight away discount anyone who you say, particularly on their X side. Because that tells you they prominently favour one. The best striker should be as comfortable off either side, and you don't think about them more so striking on their favoured side.
Okay, Ronan Matter would definitely be high in that conversation for me as well. Beautiful striker of a ball. Tony Kelly, lovely striker of the ball. Probably off one side more than the other, though, in fairness. Now, Cottle Mannion is as sweet off his left as he is off his right.
Sweet is enough there, Joy.
Now, he is sweet. I'd be straight with you. Like, Cottle Mannion is probably what we're going to come back to. And I've seen it firsthand, and I have no qualms in saying it. I think Owen Cattle is the best ball striker in the country, and I have no issue saying that whatsoever. Left or right, that man could strike the ball standing on his left-hand side, 120 yards, absolutely no issue. And he can strike it on the run off both sides. He can strike it standing off both sides. He can strike it shortened off both sides. He can strike it over his shoulder on both sides. You name it, he can do it.
And he was your best man, though, so I suppose I'm joking. He wasn't your best man. But like, he was a goalie at one point, was he?
Yeah, goalie at one point, yeah.
Okay, so are you?
If you talk to Jamie Wall would tell you that Owen Cattle has the potential, and if he played goals, be the best goalie in the country. A lot of it to do with his strike.
Okay, so who else comes to mind? Okay, look, we banked that for the moment. We'll come back to that in a minute. President of a new fan club. Are you president of multiple fan clubs?
Several.
So who else is in this category? Again, like, okay, we've burned Patrick Horgan in another area, so he can't be this one. We've burned Noel McGrath. Is there anyone else we're missing out on here?
Well, one of the lads suggested Dermot Burns there, but again, and his strike off his right is formidable. But do we see a strike off the left? Very rarely. I think.
Can
you remember last time he struck the ball off his left?
No, he does do it, but definitely
rarely.
It's like the force of 1,000 suns when he's going off his right-hand side. Left-hand side, it's probably more accuracy considered, nice ball being played inside, but like you do think of the two sides as operating slightly differently.
Definitely.
Either side over his head, says Crackety Ash.
Yeah, for a sweet strike, I'm talking about who can do it from 120 yards in and it looks the same, 110, 100. Like, to me, that's what I'm talking about here, really, as regards the sweetest of the sweet strikes. They'd be able to pull over a free from their own 45 probably, or if they got ball in hand back there, they'd also be able to, pull over a lovely ball from the 13 on the sideline, or from the 21 on the sideline, or anywhere on the pitch.
Pádraig Mahoney. It's very good striker.
Yeah, one right side over left though.
Probably slightly, but yeah, I still think he's worth mentioning. Richie Hogan.
Hogan will be both as well, yeah.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Jason Ford.
Jason Ford's a lovely striker of a ball, yeah. Sweet as a nut, both sides, yeah. In fairness, yeah, both sides. I understand that, like, you're not going to agree with me on Owen Cattle because you haven't seen him enough, and I get that. So I'm willing to, like, he's not going to be on this list, but to me he's the best ball striker in the country. But I'd have Cottle Mannion like right there. Yeah,
look, he is absolutely brilliant on both sides. Killian Doyle, fair puck of a ball, the Westmeath man. That's SSRI coming in there. Joe Butler, and this is from a Kilkenny man. Jason Ford is the real deal. Look, if you're absolutely convinced that Owen Cattle is number one ball striker in the country above all else, I'm not, like, is he better than every Limerick player? Like, is there any Limerick player, like Gerard Hegarty has scored some ridiculous points over the last couple of years. I'm not saying he's at the very top of this, but like some of the points he's scored have been absolutely ridiculous. Gillane is brilliant, but you do think more so of him striking off his left than his right. Again, it's not an insult, we're just splitting hairs here, and he can score on his right, but we do think more so on the left side, don't we?
Yeah, oh, without doubt, yeah. If you're asking me, is there any Limerick player a better ball striker than Owen Cahill? No.
Is there any Tipperary player better?
Jason Ford is on his shoulder.
Okay, is there any Clare player better?
No.
Any Waterford player? Aussie?
No. Wouldn't be as good on his left.
What about Bubbles?
Oh, yeah, he'd be right there, yeah. He would be right there, to be fair.
To me now, Bubbles would be the number one in this list.
He could be number one in a couple of lists. He'd be wrists as well. He wouldn't be too far off. I would say Owen Cahill's sweeter off his left than Bubbles from distance.
Wow. It's hard not to take that personally. Okay, is there any county in Munster I didn't mention there? I think I mentioned
Carl Mannion is the other one, and Noel McGrath. Did we have Noel McGrath in a category already?
We do. We have him in there for the brain. Anyone in Wexford? Probably not. Antrim have a couple of sweet strikers. Dublin, probably not, even though, to be fair to Donald Burke, he is really, really tasty, especially off that right-hand side. And Kilkenny, they're more so looking at Richie Hogan and TJ.
Yeah, TJ's a good striker, but again, it would be more off one side than the other.
Okay, so you're absolute, so Richard Hogan here, I think he's right and says Bubbles and Richie Hogan in a photo finish.
Both gone from the scene, though, to be fair. So
we did include that if they're still operating well at county level, I suppose, or club level, but I suppose the likes of somebody from Ballygunner, you're saying these lads are still kind of at the top of their game, whereas I suppose Killinall and Danesfort, neither of them are playing senior, for example.
Yeah, with due respect, I don't think you can put either in, to be honest.
Yeah, Bennett and Ozzy, they're tidy strikers. Yeah, I think Ozzy, there's a fair enough shout for him there.
There'll be a massive cry if Owen Cahill goes in here, and I understand that. But the next best for me would be Cathal Mannion, very, very, very closely followed by Jason Ford.
You're telling me that Mannion is a better striker than Ford?
It's tight. I think Mannion's a beautiful striker of the ball, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the what are we there obviously has to be an agreement here. What are we thinking? Who are you stumping for?
I'm just really struggling on this one. I'd say probably Jason Ford of those two. Yeah. We need a few viewer comments here.
Yeah, do you know what is one of the best thing about Jason Ford's strike is the speed of the strike. How often does the ball just break and it's whipped, it's gone over the bar 60 yards before you even realise it? That's phenomenal, really. There's very few players that can do that. But I mean,
are you including lads who deliver ball here as much as score? Because obviously Mannion is more of a deliverer, whereas primarily Ford is a scorer.
Geez, I wouldn't say Mannion's more of a deliverer. Remember the goal he got against Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final, and he'd regularly lost over 3 or 4 from that. But he'd also regularly, I suppose you say, he'd regularly sit in that deep line spot and spray ball.
He plays further out the field, I suppose, is more the point I'm going for. And Ford has scored double the amount of championship points he's scored. So I'm there trying to, again, split hairs. Who's putting the ball over the bar for me?
Yeah. They're both outstanding strikers of the ball. I'd have an issue if there were 2 tip lads on the list, being honest with you. But
yeah, okay. So the bias, you've dropped the mask here. Richard Hogan says, "Hold on, lads, can I have the best of both here? Mannion from play and Ford from freeze." There's a good one. Maybe Mannion's looks nicer, but when Ford hits it, it keeps going.
Yeah, maybe so. Ford's points. They don't have to go over the bar now. They have another 50 or 60 yards on them. It's a beautiful. I tell you what would probably might swing it for Ford is the speed of the strike. It's just how fast he gets the ball away. I remember even against was it Limerick last year where he went to town? Did he go to town? He did.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and it's just the ball broke off the half-hour line. It's boom, gone over the bar. Boom, it's so quick. And they realised that they couldn't even let the ball be around them at all, and they kind of nullified him out of the game. But listen, I'm okay with Jason Ford.
Okay, place balls. I go with, we look at some of the lads that are ruled out already. TJ's gone, Patrick Horgan's gone, Ford is gone. I think 𝘠𝘗𝘕𝘁𝘃𝘀 is probably right up at the top of this list.
Yeah, I'd have 𝘠𝘗𝘕𝘁𝘁 right up there as well. The three I had down on my short list for place balls were TJ Reid, 𝘠𝘗𝘕𝘁𝘁𝘁, and Evan Nyland.
Yeah, I'd put, like, when you think of the big time freeze that Burns has put over, I don't think we can have someone else in ahead of him here, being honest.
I don't think there's ever been a better long distance free taker than 𝘠𝘗𝘕𝘁𝘁𝘁. And look how, like, he makes it look easy. And it's not easy. As you found out during the summer for the Coola sevens, it ain't easy.
Yeah, okay, so we've 𝘠𝘗𝘕𝘁𝘁𝘁 straight in there for the place balls. Okay, leadership, endurance. To be honest, are we doing Aaron Gillane a bit of a disservice, or the fact that Burns takes over the further out ones kind of just tells you that, you know, when it comes to those ones, maybe Gillane doesn't fancy them himself or whatever. Maybe, like, Burns probably would score the ones from 30 yards out, from 50 yards out, no bother anyway. It's just, he'd take every free, only you're not going to make him trudge 90 yards every time.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think if there was one area where Gillane probably was very close, was in the aerial ability. I think, but I would say Burns is a better free taker. Burns would take most of the frees for the well as well, even when they got a penalty at the end of one of the games this year. I think he actually put it wide, which is contrary to the argument that we're making. But Burns would take the vast majority of place balls for both club and county.
Okay, so we have Diarmuid Burns in there, place balls at the right-hand side. Leadership then?
Can we leave that to last?
I suppose we can. Endurance.
I've made my case for Will O'Donoghue already. I think he's going as strong in the first minute as he is in the last. And I'm talking about endurance as in he's in around, you know, all those rucks. He's usually the one that's coming out. He's rarely taken off in games either. Like, very, very rarely. And I think he's still going as hard in the last minute as he is in the first. And I just think he has such a massive impact on the physical exchanges within the game. I think he's that perfect blend of probably endurance and kind of strength, and has that perfect medium. I'd have him really high up there for endurance. I'd have Ryan Taylor high up there too, as was mentioned already. Liam Ogue, Tom Morrissey, Paddy Deegan, Darragh Fitzgibbon, I'd say as well. Even though maybe falls more on speed than endurance, but yeah, be O'Donoghue for me anyway. Unless you've someone to trump me.
It depends. Yeah. So if you're talking about getting into rucks from the very start of the game to the very, very end, yeah, he's definitely right up there. I'm just wondering then, who's got the running power for 70 minutes type thing? Do you know, is that part of this conversation as well? Now, I know we've already got Kyle Hayes in here for strength, but like in terms of like running power, I think he could do it as much at the start of the game as he could at the start. I'd imagine Darragh Fitzgibbon could as well. It really just depends on what you mean when you're talking about endurance.
Well, I'll put it this way, right? And this is just because Fitzgibbon is a lighter player than a couple of those players you mentioned there, particularly Hayes and O'Donoghue. Like, I don't think he'd be able to ship the hits that Hayes and O'Donoghue could and still be going in the 75th minute at top speed. That'd be my way of putting it. I think he could hit those two Limerick boys in particular, all day, and it'd still be going as strong at the end as they were at the start.
Éanna McMahon here. Shane O'Donnell never stops going, a freak of an athlete. You know, like, when I think of this, you're definitely focusing on a different area that I'm focusing on. And I'm more thinking of what the likes of a Shane O'Donnell does. He gets the ball and he keeps running at you. Like, do you remember that ladies' football final a few years ago when Meath had that shock All-Ireland win after coming up from intermediate? And it was like Vicky Wall just kept going with the ball. She kept turning and running at the opposition. So that's what I think of. I think of someone who's going to run down the guts of an opposition constantly. Ryan Taylor, Shane O'Donnell. I would take either of those higher up on this particular list, but because of what I'm focusing on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you're probably focused on something different than I am, and that's probably just to do with not being smart. It's probably to do with your beliefs almost on the game, almost as well as, you know.
Maybe,
yeah. And that's just I wonder is there, like I wouldn't have much issue with O'Donnell wouldn't come into the endurance category for me now, I have to say. He'd come into the brains category more so. He'd come into the speed category. If there's a most foulable player in the country, he'd be number one, I think, on that category as well, him and Colin Fennelly.
But first minute to last, he's going to turn and run at you.
Yeah, no, he will. And Ryan Taylor the same, I'd say too. I think what would separate Hayes is picked already, and what would separate O'Donoghue for me is, even over those two lads, is that what he's going to ship in a game, what he's going to dish out, and what he's going to ship, and what he's going to still be doing at the end of the game.
But is that not leadership?
No. Well, it partly is.
Well, it is, because he's going to step up and do the important tackles and the dirty work, you know. And I know there's plenty of lads who'll do it, but he's going to do that from start to finish. Whereas, to me, what we're talking about is somebody who's going to constantly get the ball and constantly look at the castle gates and think, here comes the battering ram again.
I'm talking about physical endurance, anyway. That's what I'm talking about. You're probably talking about speed endurance.
I'm talking about get the ball and run at the opposition, whether that's taking hits or whether it's, you know, what my legs have to do to keep me moving. I'm just thinking, who's willing to keep taking the ball to the opposition, run at them no matter what, because they've just got that endurance and that staying power.
Yeah, no, I take your point on board. Richard Hogan says, does endurance rule out players who drift in and out of a game? Most certainly, without a doubt. Endurance is from minute one to the end, and there's no drifting. You're always there, always at the coalface, always working, always stuck into it.
Like, Clare got plenty of things wrong in the All-Ireland semi-final this year, but the thing that was taken out of their hand was Ryan Taylor doing his cruciate, and that probably alone was the difference between the teams. Obviously, the save from Owen Murphy, but like some of the games he's had against Limerick, even for me, it has to be Ryan Taylor.
And Ryan Taylor
has to be Ryan Taylor.
Jesus, I thought you were stumping more for O'Donnell than Taylor. Does it matter that Taylor won't feature for Clare in 2024?
Yeah, but he's not retired as an inter-county player. He's just out injured for a while.
See, the issue I have is the size. That's the issue I have.
Yeah, but look, Robert Muldoon here, and this is a good point. Maybe Jamie Barron a few years ago. It just shows that the size doesn't really matter. Like, he's going to keep running at you all day long, and he doesn't mind about the physicality because he's able to do it against Limerick.
Yeah, you're talking about running, whereas I'm talking about hits.
But he's still getting tackles in. It's just
no, come on. Not to the same level as an O'Donoghue. Not those type of hits.
No, I'm not saying he is. No, of course not. But I'm saying he's still getting tackles in. That's different to physically imposing himself like the way he does. But I just feel like he ticks all the boxes and he'll solo down the centre of Limerick from the start to the finish every single day. Like, who else is there to do what he does against Limerick? Not too many.
And he'd be met by Will O'Donoghue in the first minute, and he'd be met by Will O'Donoghue in the last minute as well.
But it won't stop him from going. Even if he does.
No, it won't. He won't get past him, though.
He gets past everyone. Right.
Okay, here. Someone made a suggestion there because we're not going to agree on this. What category have you Kyle Hayes in already?
Well, we both already picked him for the strength.
Does he is he the happy medium for endurance? As in,
no.
He'll make the hits from minute 1 to 75, and he'll stay soloing down your guts from minute 1 to 75, and stay bombing down the wing from minute 1 to 75.
So we're horse trading.
I think we are, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
But this is what it's all about, like.
Yeah. Okay, that's grand. So now we have to put someone in for strength.
Lee Chin.
Okay. Oh, what am I doing here? Ignore all this messing. Lee Chin, okay. Right. Okay, sorry now, I've threw a bit of jiggery pokery here.
As jiggery pokery, I'd say myself, yeah. I thought Chin was hardly done by in the strength category anyway. So, like, to me with Hayes as well, he gets the hits, but he's also, like, you put him on an 800-metre track and you think, yeah, this lad will absolutely fly around.
Kevin Burke says TK has to be on the list. He's the best hurler in the country on his day, and on his day, he's still one of the best on the field.
Tell us where he goes. Tell us where he goes, Kevin. Which category does he go into?
Who are we getting rid of? Horse trading, Will O'Donoghue for strength and Hayes for endurance. But to me, the short list, yeah, you can put Will O'Donoghue in there. You can put 𝘬𝘁 in there. Who else are you putting in there in terms of like short list? John Conlon?
For strength, yeah, John Conlon probably as well. Will O'Donoghue's probably in around that list as well, but that wouldn't be the one I'd have him highest up on. I'm actually quite happy with where we are now.
Yeah, look, I mean,
I'm happier.
We knew it wasn't going to be easy. The final one then, leadership.
Oh God, we've everything else done.
We've everything else done.
It's fair. It's a fair hurler. Leadership, like some of the guys on the list would be some of the best leaders in the country already. I'm looking at TJ, looking at Dermot Burns. I'm looking at probably Kyle Hayes as well.
I'm looking at Cian Lynch, and I'm not looking past him
as a leader.
Yeah, because like even think last year when it wasn't going his way and he wasn't physically right and all that, and he came back and look what he did in the All-Ireland final, and look what he's done in previous All-Irelands. To be fair, you could say the same about Gearóid Hegarty in All-Ireland finals.
Yeah. Leadership.
You should have mentioned Dan Morrissey for strength, actually. Yeah, and that's pointed out by Jason Mullins.
Big time, unbelievably strong. He wouldn't be too far off in the aerial ability as well. He's been brilliant and he made some big catches in big games over the years. Leadership. Who always does it? Even when others aren't doing it.
And that is the test. Look, I just think Cian Lynch, just so many times over the years, 2 times hurler of the year, probably would be more already if he hadn't suffered such bad injuries. Now, you could say on the flip side, they've kind of managed to do it without him. Like, you can put Declan Hannon in this conversation if you wanted. Again,
put John Conlon in this conversation as well, I'd say.
Yeah, they've fallen apart without him in the past, haven't they? That All-Ireland semi-final where they were hockey. But Limerick have kind of done it without everybody, haven't they? In their 5 All-Irelands in 6 years, at some stage, so like you could put Nicky Quaid in there if you like.
You could put Shane O'Donnell in there too.
You could. So they've kind of done it without most players at some point.
Yeah.
So that kind of in a strange way makes it easy for us to go for someone else completely if we like.
Yeah, like the thing about Cian Lynch is that, like, say, like he was man of the match in Hurler Deer in 2021 when they beat Cork off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? He was man of the match in the All-Ireland final this year, but you couldn't say he dragged them by the scruff of the neck or anything like that. He was good in the first half when a lot of other lads weren't. Just fly down through the counties here really quickly and talk about leadership.
Waterford, hard to say after the season they just had.
Very difficult.
We're looking for easy way outs here to dismiss swathes of people dismissively. But we might just say, look, Waterford haven't done enough in the last year. I don't think Tipperary have done enough in the last couple of years, really. I mean, look, I'd like to pump them here, but it's tough for me to.
Shane, I'm going to change. I'm going to go again. TJ Reid is the greatest leader in the history of the game, I would say. And I think we should put him in as leader. I think we should put Aaron Gillane in for aerial ability. There you go. It goes against a lot of what I said previously. But like...
Okay, right. Look, I think he's absolutely brilliant. But 1 point from playing his last 4 All-Irelands.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to see how many frees or high balls he won or... within those games.
But sure, if you're talking about an ultimate hurler show, haven't we a heap of free takers to choose from?
No, how many frees he won, I said.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, and how many high balls. And to me, I said it before and I'll say it again, the best performance I've probably seen at county level was his performance in defeat against Galway in that qualifier game in Nolan Park in 19.
Yeah.
That's probably what I do, to be honest.
Yeah, Joe Butler says leadership is not all about scoring. Okay, we'll just quickly, I think you've made a compelling argument, I have to say. Owen Cody, a dark horse for leader, maybe not now, but definitely in a couple of years. Yeah, and to be honest, if we haven't mentioned him in a couple of categories, we certainly would have intended to. He's certainly in them. Okay, so just back to leader again. Limerick, again, we found an easy out in the sense that they've kind of done it without everyone. And I'd say, Dan Morrissey is worth mentioning there. So is Tom Morrissey. Nicky Quaid is worth mentioning because there's a fair chance that things get a little bit ropey in that team without him there.
Big time, and he also had the leadership to even go. The smartness and cuteness to go down and kill things for a couple of seconds too, or a minute or so when things were under pressure, and all of a sudden then things were brilliant when the game restarted again. Bit like smart lead, like that's a leader. That's knowing what needs to be done to get over the line at a given time.
They've managed to do it without Hannon. They've managed to do it without Lynch. They've managed to do it without most players at different times. Just we could put Nicky Quaid in this conversation. Anyone from Clare?
I would have O'Donnell high up, and I'd have O'Donnell probably highest of all the Clare lads, I'd say.
Yeah,
like
John Conlon.
Has there ever been a greater show of leadership than Tony Kelly's sideline ball in the Munster final last year?
Yeah, that's up there. John Conlon as well.
Yeah, John Conlon's right up there, definitely.
So they have a few worth mentioning. Anyone in Cork, you're going to dismiss this straight away.
Pick out the leader. I'd say Harnady's a good leader when things aren't going well.
And Horgan.
I think Kieran Joyce has the potential to be a leader for a decade or more.
Okay, then I'll quickly run through Leinster, and you stop me if you like. Antrim, and look, some of these teams are now relegated. Westmeath are now relegated. Wexford, Dublin.
I think Tommy Doyle's an outstanding leader for Westmeath now, I would have to say.
And a strong man. Kilkenny, Galway. You'd
probably say with Galway, maybe it was an absence of lead. Like there was no one that stood up and took the game to Limerick when it was there to be done in the second half, when the wheels were falling off. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah. So you've made a compelling, like, so Nicky Quaid or that rejigging where we put Aaron Gillane in as the number one in the air and TJ as the number one leader.
Yeah, see, like I think there are a lot of parts to Nicky Quaid's game that are brilliant. Leadership is high up there, but I wouldn't say, like, again, his strike is probably one of the highest, but again, that's predominantly off the left. His brain would probably be high up there too. He's a brilliant leader, but that wouldn't be the thing that jumps out the most, if you get me.
Okay, do you know what? I think you've made a very compelling argument, so I'm going to go with it. We'll bring it up on screen here. So number one is aerial ability there in the top corner. We've got Aaron Gillane, wrist Patrick Horgan, strike from play Jason Ford, speed Shane Kingston, brain Noel McGrath, Lee Chin has the strength, Diarmuid Burns to place ball, leadership TJ Reid, endurance Kyle Hayes.
There's no fair animal we've created. That's a fair animal now.
That sure is. Folks, let us know, is that the ultimate hurler? Can we do better than that? I'm not sure that we can.
There's going to be lads not happy that that Tony Kelly didn't feature in any of them, but like he featured closely in many, and that's why he's so good. Do you know what I mean? But maybe, like they always said it about, like, say like someone like John Higgins in the snooker, he probably wouldn't come top of any category, but he'd be in the top 3 or 4 in every category. And that's why he's so good. And that's why he has, 4 world titles or whatever. Whereas like Ronnie would come, and I only watched his documentary. I finished it last night. Oh my God.
Start that yet as a class.
Shane, the finale of it is as good as the finale of
don't say too much.
I shed a tear. You know the finale. It's in the World Championship.